the process of detoxification it's very important. Now, let me tell you that the toxins enter the body through three specific mechanisms. There is only 3 ways, plus one more. So 3 ways for the toxins to enter our bodies. First is the lungs. The lungs are a very important mechanism or vehicle by which, through our breathing and respiration, we introduce elements, toxins into our body. They are very effective in bringing the toxins and particles from the outside in direct contact with our bloodstream. The second mechanism is through our skin. You can see it here, right? The skin is a very permeable organism or structure. It actually allows flow inwards and outwards. So you can have outflow or inflow of elements from the environment, creams and other things into the body itself as well, and almost directly onto the bloodstream. It doesn't take very long for things to move from the skin into the bloodstream. It only takes a few minutes. And then we have the third mechanism, which is also extremely important, which is here is the gut and the intestine, or the gastrointestinal system, which is in fact 13 meters long. This is where you introduce everything that you eat or you drink into the environment, into your body. And so the food and the drinks that we consume become part of this process, whereby being introduced internally into our body through the gut, they actually introduce toxicity into our bodies. Now, there is one fourth mechanism, but we're not going to discuss because it's very controversial, which is vaccines. So vaccines go directly into your body by injection, right? And so the vaccines, whether you believe in them or not, it's not up to us to discuss now. However, vaccines carry with them many different things that people object to. People have concerns about things like mercury. You know, when I was young, that was a long, long time ago. You were not even born then. There was a lot of discussion about vaccine and the use of mercury as a preservative. So, but these days, vaccines are much better than they used to be. And of course, they're safer than they used to be. So vaccine is the other mechanism to introduce toxins into the body. So keep that in mind, which is extremely important for the future, especially in the times of Corona and COVID-19, where people are discussing about whether they take vaccines or not. We are not going to discuss this now, but it's something that you need to understand and to be aware of. Now, remember, all the toxins that enter from the environment, through these 3 mechanisms, lungs, skin, and the gut, they lead and go directly to the liver. So don't be mistaken. The liver is the essential part of the body that deals with detoxification. So the liver is the detox mechanism, the detox engine of the body. If your liver becomes compromised and you lose the activity of your liver, you don't have very long to live. People that have, as you know, develop liver cancer, they develop liver disease, cirrhosis, and other forms, especially hepatitis B, hepatitis in general, they can have a very short life if it's not resolved quickly, because the liver is essential for the preservation of life. Because the liver would actually, and I will explain to you how that happens in a minute, the liver will deal with the toxins and send the toxins from the liver itself into 4 different pathways. So how does the liver eliminate toxins? After the liver processes the toxin, once they've entered your body, it's actually sent through the skin, to the blood vessels. So the skin, through perspiration, becomes a very important structure for detoxification, right? So when you exercise and you sweat a lot, make sure you remove that sweat. Because if you don't remove it, it will actually be reabsorbed into the body. So it's extremely important. This is something that sometimes people don't think about it, or they already know, but as you sweat in exercise, the removal of the sweat is very critical, okay? Remember, the sweat contains a lot of the processed toxins that are trying to be eliminated by the liver and by the body. Now, the next mechanism is the kidneys. Kidneys is extremely important because it actually is a filter. It's almost like the oil filter of your car, right? It will filter blood and it will release certain byproducts of activity, certain toxins. It will remove nitrogen in the form of uric acid. It will remove urea. A lot of the nitrogen that comes from protein metabolism are secreted through the kidneys. This is why when you're looking at your kidneys, you're actually looking at creatinine, right? And creatinine is in fact a carrier that shows you how much protein has been degraded by the body itself. And then it also gives you an indication of how much protein you've consumed, because the nitrogen from protein have to be removed from the body itself via the liver and via the kidneys. So anything that affects the kidney activity will also have a very fundamental impact on our bodies. Now, then we have the colon. So how it works, the liver processes some of these toxins and then it mixes the toxins with bile. And the bile gets released into the colon to form feces. And this is how the liver eliminates some of these toxins via the colon. Okay, the colon is very important in that function. It has to function properly. If it is constipated, it's a very, very serious risk, because constipation allows the toxins to remain internally in your body and have all types of effects in your health. So the colon function is very critical. Not only do you have to have a good liver, but you have to have a properly functioning colon to be able to remove the toxins that the liver is sending down your way to the gallbladder. So the gallbladder releases the bile mixes with the toxins, and then the bile and the toxins together, they gravitate to the liver and are actually removed as feces, right? So feces are not necessarily what you call a clean element. Feces are in fact full in our day and age of medication, chemicals, and toxins as well. Okay, and the lungs are used as a mechanism to actually eliminate toxins much the same way. By respiration, by exhaling, you're actually removing a lot of droplets of water containing a lot of these toxins as well. So this is very important to be aware of, that when you are particularly ill or sick, you should really use a mask for a short time until you feel better, you feel well. But the lungs definitely are a way to detoxify. If you smoke heavily, which we see in Asia, unfortunately, our brothers and sisters in Asia continue to smoke, especially in certain countries where smoking is really a social norm, a social habit. And so smoking will affect your lungs, it will decrease your detoxification process, and it will actually impair your body to be able to relieve and to move toxins out of your body itself. So what happens then is that if your liver can handle the toxins, the toxins are released if your 4 mechanisms that we describe here are working properly. However, often what happens is there is an excess of toxins. The excess is very, very high. The liver cannot handle, doesn't have the capacity, the functionality to deal with these toxins. And so the excess toxins get stored in 2 different ways. And remember, there are 2 types of toxins, what we call fat-soluble toxins, toxins that can be soluble in fat. And then we have the water-soluble toxins. Now, both of those toxins go to different parts of the body. The excess toxins, they get concentrated in fat cells. So your fat tissue, when you're overweight, your fat cells are carrying toxins, heavy metals, different types of molecules that are in excess. So when you lose weight, you have to be careful, because as you lose weight, all these cells release the toxicity that is already accumulated in there. Now, remember, fat cells can be an exercise from the body to control and to localize these toxins. The body cannot handle them by removing them, but they can localize it and neutralize them. So they actually surround them by fat. Often that happens with bacteria. So this is why you see many of the cysts. For example, you see cysts that are growing on your body, in your back. They're like lumps of fat. And then when you touch them, they're very flexible and they move around a bit. So these fat cysts are in fact an attempt from the body to isolate probably bacteria or toxins, right? So by surrounding the bacteria or toxin with fat cells, you neutralize it. Now, these fat-soluble toxins can go into your bone marrow, in your liver, and into your central nervous system. Now, the water-soluble toxins do a different job. For example, uric acid goes to your joints, okay? Free radicals go into the blood. Heavy metals go into the joints as well, into tissues, into muscles in general. So what we see is that accumulation of excess toxins causing side effects and signs of toxicity. So this is, in fact, the mechanism on how we can understand how toxins enter our body, go through the liver, are secreted, and the ones that are not secreted remain in our body and they accumulate in different parts.